Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Guys, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a game, and that game is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. My name is Anthony Ragucci, and here to discuss with me, Nintendo's #1 fan, returning guest, Chris Connor.
Chris Connor here. Glad to be back. Thank you very much. How you been?
Technical difficulties aside from just 5 minutes ago, I'm doing all right. I was thinking before this, I'm like, I remember like one time I was like, I know with the hot takes, we don't usually do like the, what are you playing? What are you doing? But I'm like, I think one time I was like, like icebreakers for guests would be fun. So I want to ask you this, Chris, you've been playing Death Stranding. How's it going?
Yeah, you have no idea how happy he is that I'm doing this. Yeah, it's going well so far. It's just a matter of trying to really get an idea of the mechanics, how well you have to go through with certain situations, like when those fucking BT show up. Just trying to figure out what you gotta do. Like literally last night on the Discord, I'm asking you guys, do I keep still or do I keep moving?
Yeah, the game's very different. It's got a lot going on, and I remember, first few sessions is pretty overwhelming to understand. It's like, okay, like I don't know what any of these menus are, or like, how exactly everything works, the tips and the tricks. You'll get it as you go, but yeah, when you start the game out, it's just a matter of just play, and you'll kind of pick it up as you go. And maybe you don't need to always be doing side orders, but probably doing side orders will help you just kind of learn what's going on instead of trying to race through the story.
I'm always just picking up lost cargo and thinking, shit, do I have to bring this back immediately? Because I'm always afraid it's going to disappear.
Not all the time. Unless you have a timer, you can haul that around for a while if you want. It's the timed orders, which are very apparent that they're timed, that obviously you have 20 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, and you have to, get right there. But yeah, as you build the roads and get the vehicles, and basically the further in the game you get, the easier it gets, because you're at the beginning, you have nothing, so you're just walking. And
it feels like me playing an Assassin's Creed game. I immediately try going to get everything done before progressing into the story, only to find there's equipment I could have used. So,
but you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Did the first few cutscenes are pretty cool? I don't know if you've seen any of them, but
I mean, that was cool. It was just, you can definitely feel it's a very sort of depressing sort of, but also hopeful sort of state.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. Anyway, let's get to the reason why we're here. We're talking about Crisis Core, the recent remake master.
It's a
both.
hybrid.
It's both. Of the probably, I guess I'll say it, one of the best games on PSP, I think, was Crisis Core.
It's tough to say, really. It was mixed reception originally with that game, but it definitely, when it comes to, say, graphics, especially considering how you had such a small little device, they definitely achieved a lot when it came to that.
Right, and you played the original, so I kind of want to toss it to you first and say, you have played this game. This is the first time I've played through it on PlayStation 5. You played it on PlayStation 5 as well, but like I just said, you played on the PSP originally in 09? 08?
A while back, probably even 07. I can't remember.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot when it originally came out. But what did you think hopping back into this game?
It was definitely a very, very much needed improvement when it came to certain sort of mechanics. Like when it comes to certain sorts of ways in order to do combat, or just simply being able to skip cutscenes, it definitely was just a big
in the
step
DMW.
forward.
Yeah. Dude, if I had to watch every cutscene every single time, especially now that I'm in the post game and the missions, I would go nuts. I feel you.
Yeah, I did. I remember the original. We're talking about the DMW, which is basically the slot machine sort of system that goes in through the game, that if you get a match, you will get some sort of power-up, some sort of health or magic point restore, or as well as the limit breaks itself. And it's just a matter of how originally back then, you couldn't literally, when you had it a single 2 match, and then you wait for the third match, it would pause the game entirely, and then you were forced to watch to see whether or not it'd make a match or not. And sometimes, in order to try and make sure you get better odds, it would show a cutscene, or it would show some sort of stills from an animation, all that type of stuff. Everything was come to a halt. And
right,
then
breaking the flow of the gameplay. Yeah.
And if you got a match, you would immediately get the limit break, but it's really slowed down. You'd be guarded, yes, but it definitely felt like things were stopped and slowed down every single time.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, and yeah, and you know, like you just said, that's the improvement from the remake to the original. It's like, yeah, like I like the DMW. I think it's a pretty cool system. It's a little like it's almost too RNG. Like sometimes it's like, fuck, dude, if I have invincibility, I could kill this boss. Like it's like just the 10 seconds I need to really like lay into this guy with like assault twister or whatever into his back. And like I especially have noticed that as I'm in the post game and the missions and the harder stuff, and I'm like, I got invincibility and it won me that fight. Like, and it was RNG based. I didn't do anything. I didn't prep differently, which I guess has its pros and its cons, right? But getting back to, I mean, not getting back to, but talking about the story of it, what did you think going through the second time around? Again, like you've played this game. I mean, I know this game beforehand, so it's not like I was like fresh new off the story. I know, you know, the Crisis Core story, but what else about the original to the remake were you like jazzed up about or not as excited about?
Well, let me just say for the record that the original here was pretty much the first time me getting into actual Final Fantasy VII. As all the different Final Fantasies there have been, this is probably the most fleshed out, the most sequels. I mean, probably the closest thing I had before that was watching Crisis Core, Advent Children at your place.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, I mean, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, Advent Children were all part of
Before Crisis, the original, all that.
I'm trying to think of the name for it. There was a name like the
compilation of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. It was all part of this. Like, yeah, we're not just gonna go to the next game. Like, we're gonna kind of flesh FF7 out a little bit. And I think besides Before Crisis, like all I think you know all the installations and mediums they went to were pretty successful. I know Advent Children. I really like Advent Children. Obviously, a lot of people like Crisis Core. That's why I got a remake. Dirge of Cerberus has its fans as well. I played that. Yeah. So my take on this game, I can't decide whether I don't like it or just think it's okay.
It's tough. There's a lot you can like. There's a lot you can't like.
I think the structure is utterly archaic for a PS5 game, and I think that leads me into a question. It's like, why did you decide to get it on PlayStation 5 and not like Switch? Because I think it like knowing what this game is, it's designed as a portable game, and the game is like made to play on like commutes and in car rides and in short chunks and bursts. So why did you like go to PS5? Because of the obvious, or?
I think just mostly because I had some history when it came to playing Remake on there and all.
Right.
Just to have some sort of, like, I could easily have gone it on Switch, sure, but I decided why not just go with PS5.
And this is on everything, which is strange because Remake is only on PlayStation.
I mean, first time it's on console, and for some reason it gets put on all of them. Like, you'd expect it to be, like, PS5 first, then jump to everything else, but I guess not.
Sony has some weird exclusive deals with... Or, sorry... Square has some weird exclusive deals with Sony. You just look at their games. Why is Octopath Traveler only on Xbox on console, and Octopath Traveler 2 is only on PlayStation? Like, what is that? They clearly have contracts from game to game with their exclusivity and their. It's strange because I think it like alienates players. It's like, okay, like I would totally play Octopath Traveler 2 on Xbox, but I'm forced to play it on PlayStation 5, which is fine. But like it's like the OCD in me of what you just said, where like I played Remake on PlayStation 5, I'm gonna play the Crisis Core remake also on PlayStation 5. It's like the same thing. So yeah. I really have a hard time with this game because I was like, finally, I get to play Crisis Core for the first time. I know the story front to back. I totally understand. Maybe missing some of the details here and there, which I definitely was. And I was excited to like experience this game for the first time. And I, you know, when we were kids, you know, I watched you play it or probably played it myself a little bit. And I knew it was well liked with the fans. And then I got it and I was just like, this was a missed potential. I think they really could have like totally rehauled this game.
They could have done a lot more than what they added. Like, they could have made it a whole different, but I think that's them just trying to focus on saying this is a remake, even though we're going to have some, or not remake, remaster. We're just going to make as much small changes as we can. I can't talk today. But we're just going to try and keep it as faithful from the original, even though we are adding a few extra things, that sort of thing, because it's literally the first time it's going to be on console. Otherwise, it originally was just a handheld game.
Right. The script is pretty much 1-to-1. There were no changes with that. Obviously, we have a new voice cast, and it's the Remake voice cast returning, which I think everyone's fine besides Zach. Zach really seems to be like very inconsistent in his quality. He either is really good, like he is in the remake lines, the few that spoilers, and the few that he has, it's like 5 or 6 lines or something like that, and it's just like, yeah, that sounds good. But then we get to this, and it's a different Zach. We go through different eras of Zach, and his like younger, more jovial version sounds weird.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Remake. I think that's the big reason why most people did get this remaster, because of Remake. As spoiler alert, of course, there are some differences that happen in Remake,
and we're definitely going to talk about that stuff, because I think one of the biggest questions going in was, are they going to make remake connections?
Yeah.
Right, like what are they going to connect to the remake? But sorry, continue.
We'll get to that, but the thing about that is just you're trying to figure out what's going on, whether they're going to change anything different, comparing it to Remake's new ending. We can get to that some other time, but it's just a matter of that's probably what got people into it more, not just wanting to play it on the first time, but see whether or not they're going to make changes. Is it going to be some sort of connection to what's coming next, that sort of thing.
Right, and then for people who didn't play the original, like, who's this Zach guy? We need to learn more about him, and he's definitely important, and into that I would say, like, I think if you don't play the original Final Fantasy, you are kind of like missing out on this like extra element of the remake of like what has happened, and Final Fantasy VII is almost it's not even like it's like a reimagining of like the 7 story, but with the context of the original story. So like playing it without the original, probably you're missing this element, because like you're like what points you have to hit in Midgar. We've done this before. It was 8 hours, now turned into like 60 plus, like but there's like key points that you have to hit, and like once you get to the end with the Shinra building and Sephiroth, it all kind of like gets turned on its head, and you're like, what, the whole time. So yeah, going into this game, it's like, okay, are they gonna do that same thing? And I thought they did at one point, but they didn't. But how do you like, this story of Crisis Core? It is kind of, I think like characters like Angeal and Genesis feel like really throwaway, especially Genesis. The guy fucking quotes a poem like all the time.
He hates Genesis. Just want to put that out there.
And I had always heard that like Genesis, like he never was really like well liked.
I mean,
and like I'm like, yeah, I get it, because he just quotes a poem. He actually says nothing about anything.
I mean, it's tough to say really, because if, like you said, if you originally played the game, you know what Shinra's about, you know exactly what sort of situation you were dealing with, but now you're a part of them, so you're not sure whether or not you want to go beside Genesis, like rebelling against them, or if you just want to just say this is just another annoyance. It's literally like what happens in 7. Like, you think Shinra's the big baddie, then Sephiroth comes along, they become a minor inconvenience.
Yeah, they're just kind of there, and it's funny to watch like Soldier go to shit so fucking fast, and it's like it gives you a little bit of context of Soldier as like a unit, and the fact that like, okay, there aren't like a bunch of Soldier first classes, and we were talking like a week or so ago about like Roach,
yeah,
from 7 Remake,
the dude on the bike from 7
the
Remake,
new Soldier character, and it's like he's a second class or a third class or something like that.
I would assume
it's like we
second.
don't see a lot, like, okay, like Zach, Genesis, Angeal, and Sephiroth. They're the 4 first class we know about. And like in the original, like I was like, oh, there are probably like a bunch of Soldier first classes, like just palling around.
And that's actually a good thing to point out too. Like, one of the big things when starting the game is the whole idea Genesis goes missing. He takes a bunch of seconds and thirds with him. That way you don't see how much populated Soldier originally is.
Yeah. And then like Kunsel is like one of our like, like ancillary Soldier characters who's like, looks like every other Soldier, but is talking to Zach a lot throughout the game. And I kind of like his character, because it kind of like he gives you like the insight as to like what this other Soldier are thinking. And then he appears in
I was happy that he was mentioned in Remake. Like,
I'm like, holy shit, because technically Cloud should know who Kunsel is. So I mean, like, I think he would, like it seems like and like him and Zach even like don't even have that deep of a relationship in Crisis Core. Like Zach inspires a lot of the soldiers, especially once he becomes first. But like, and him and Cloud have a few interactions. You know, Medeoheim is where they first meet, and where
They connect, and then next thing you know, they're running for their lives. Well, at least one's running for their lives.
yeah, but it's not like him and Cloud have like a bunch of time. So it is interesting to kind of see like how, I'm trying to figure out how the way to word this, how Cloud takes Zack's persona and makes it his own from the interactions he's had with him.
I mean, it's
and from what he knows.
It's hard to say, really, because Cloud went through a lot of shit that compiled. There was destruction in Nibelheim, Mako poisoning, getting Genova cells in him, which I personally think brainwashed Sephiroth too. So who knows, like, how much of this stuff that those cells are messing with him, like how much of Zack's powers. Like we were literally talking about in the Discord, like all these different limits.
Which you can join in the description.
All these different limit breaks. They have like only one Cloud has, the Meteor Rain. Meanwhile, all the others are pretty much completely new. Even Sephiroth's Octo Slash, Cloud doesn't know how to use that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, yeah, you were talking about the limits, right? It's like, you know, it's not like, okay, Cloud like gets Zack's abilities. Like, yeah. I think the only one, there's one, right?
Yeah, the Meteor Rain.
Strike.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything else, it's like Clim Hazard, Cross Slash, Octa Slash, like all this shit is like not from Zack.
It's not from Zack. Literally, Zack, like when I think of him, his own powers, literally just that chain slash you get occasionally.
Yeah, I know we're jumping right like to the end a bit, but when like Zack dies and Zack kind of like fucks off for a few years.
I mean, this has been like 10, 15 years.
That's another weird thing. The time jumps in this are like, I can't really tell what's going on sometimes. But it's just like, okay, like what happens to Cloud? There's a gap in time where it's like, this is like really important information of like, okay, like Cloud wakes up from his Mako poisoning, Zack dies, the living legacy thing, he takes the Buster Sword, and like what happens to him? Right? Like he gets new clothes, he has like a more like emo boy persona, but he thinks he's a first class. Like why does he think that?
Like he takes Zack's persona somewhat like
he doesn't take his personality, right? But he takes who he is.
He takes aspects.
His role.
Like he's not as happy-go-lucky. Like he is happy-go-lucky a little bit in the original when it comes to the beginning of the game. I feel like that's
talking about Cloud.
Yeah.
I
feel like that's some stuff that Zack did, but when he finds out the truth, he immediately mellows up after he realizes, I can't believe I forgot this. I thought I was him. That sort of thing.
Right. What do you think about Angeal? Because personally, I think he's kind of, it's funny, like he's there and then he's gone. And then we're like, Angeal. And then like, you never really, soldier honor. Like that's his character. It seems like, it's like, I don't know. That's why I think a remake of this game where we flesh these characters out much more and give them more of a dynamic and a personality just could have done all this stuff like much more justice.
I mean, that being said, you never know what they're going to try and add into the new versions of the remake. Like they could, like probably the only thing that mentioned them is saying S cells or G cells when they're thinking how are we going to replicate the ancient, that sort of thing. Who knows how much. Angeal's biggest thing personally is just to show that this is the Buster Sword. This is where it originally came from. Or the other big thing is that he was created the exact same way as Sephiroth, but he was different. Sephiroth couldn't be with his family. That's what made him go crazy, think his mother was Genova, but Angeal managed to stay with his parents. That way he was more or less more normal.
Yeah, and Genesis and Angeal were before Project S. So, and they were failures. Obviously, you see that because they degrade.
I mean, that's the thing. Like Hojo and Hollander, the two professors, they used it as a competition. Like whoever makes the better becomes the head of the science. You know,
right? And then there was like Gast, who we don't hear too much of at all in this game, and is only really a side character in the original 7. So I'm interested to see like what they do with Hollander and the other projects, and if Gast will be more included in 7 Remake as we go into it, because it's like, we have seen is Elmira Aerith's mom's name? No.
I'm trying.
No, it's
Aphalandra, something like.
Yeah, Elmira is her adoptive mom.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But like Aerith's actual mom, it's like we see her in the remake. So, and I mean we do in the original 7 too, but I'm just like, it would be such a missed opportunity to not go into the soldier shit, because I think it is kind of interesting and crucial to like what is going on. But yeah, it's a pretty quick game. You get through it in about 20 hours.
I mean, that brings up the point that there's so much missable stuff in this game too. I remember you hated that.
Really, one thing I like going through it, and I'm like, I don't usually look at a guide my first time through. But like I was like looking at achievements and like kind of I'm like, there's so much missable stuff. And like I don't really want to replay the whole fucking game, even though I had to replay parts of it. But luckily it's very quick enough that you can like skip all the cutscenes and blitz through in like an hour.
And with the new game plus, especially if you do go through that, you try to go through maybe normal. Like you went hard and then I'm guessing you went
down
to normal.
Next. Yeah, to blitz through.
I did the opposite. I did normal, then did hard. Then you could probably go much
quicker.
Yeah,
hard mode should definitely be an unlockable. I don't think it hard mode is just like I don't think the difficulty is well optimized, one, because it's just like, oh, you're fighting, and then I would just hit like a roadblock of difficulty. I'm like, why am I getting one-shotted all of a sudden? And even in the post game, I'm still getting fucking one-shotted by people, and it's just like,
I mean, let me bring that up now. The fact that some of the stuff is more guaranteed when it comes to, say, equipment. Like, I remember it's so stupid that you had to have some sort of equipment in order to break the mold when it comes to the max limit, like whether it be your health, your AP, how much you can hit. It's all quadruple nines, 9999. But then if you get some sort of equipment, like, say, the Genji armor or something, then you can immediately make it to 5 nines instead of 4. So that's just really cheap, how that you have to have some sort of equipment in order to really just have some sort of new damage cap. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, the system sees easily gained, but like if you don't know how to gain the system, you're just bad. Like even materia fusion, like you kind of have to abuse it to be good.
I literally had to do that in order to just max out my stats just for that.
Right.
Just for the secret boss.
Right. Like I'm like I have to break HP cap on my health, and I have to fucking boost one of my materias to be like plus 200% health. Like I just have to, because like I can't stay at 99 health. Everything hits me above that. Like and like wall or like barrier and wall and barrier, they don't fucking work. They don't do anything. And even the equipment, it's like, okay, like plus 60 vitality, like it doesn't do shit. Like it's all like I just need to boost my health, and I need to have like Graviga or like Darkness or Quake, and I just need to fucking bash these guys in and like fast.
Literally, I just use either Costly or Magic Punch just to get through.
And we're talking about the post game and a little bit at the end of the game, because I thought the last dungeon was stupid, because I was like, dude, I've been doing missions all throughout this whole game. Why am I hitting this wall? And like the last dungeon was like, I was just like, I just want to finish this fucking game. And then I get to the last boss, Genesis Avatar, and I can't fucking beat him.
Yeah,
I'm like, what is this? He has 600,000 HP. Like it is drastically more beefy than the normal version. And I'm like,
I think that's also another big change from the original.
I'm just getting annoyed. I'm not. This isn't difficult. This is just hard for the sake of being hard. This isn't fun. Like I have to gain this system. I did a few more missions. I really maxed out my material loadout, but I went in there and it was still challenging. I was still like not blitzing through this fight, and then I beat it, and then I'm like, all right, now I got to grind all these missions out.
I do feel like, now we mention it, that like what I was saying from normal to hard, I do feel like this game.
Push your mark forward a little bit.
This game is more towards you trying to do it normal than hard. Like they're not really thinking of gamers that are going to go from hard to normal. Like I feel like they didn't consider that portion.
Yeah, I mean, if they really did, they wouldn't have made hard you wouldn't be able to do hard in the beginning of the game. Like you couldn't in 7 Remake. And I think you reminded me of that, and I was like, yeah, I played FF7 on hard. I didn't have a fucking problem. And I'm like, oh, because I did on my second playthrough. And it still wasn't that difficult, like, because I kind of carried a lot over. And then New Game Plus is like, nah, like, okay, you'll carry over your materia and your level, but like missions, no. It's like
that's literally all that doesn't get carried
over.
What's
the point? What's the point of doing New Game Plus? Unless you like, besides playing it again, it's just like, I got like a headache thinking about it. I'm just like, this is so unintuitive. This structure of this game does not come. I mean, it's 2023 now. This game came out in 2022, but it doesn't work in 2023 all that well. Like, just personally, like, I enjoy the game to a degree.
Same here. Like, we're shitting it right now, but we do still enjoy the game.
But I just find so much about it. I'm like, this could be so much better. And it was better in 7 Remake. They did it better. And then you go back. It's... You see what I'm saying?
I get you. I think it's more perspective of someone who hasn't played the original like I did. Like, definitely when it comes to my perspective, it definitely is much better compared to the original. I was telling you about the DMW, how it would stop everything. The whole stance thing is much better. If I didn't have that thing, I wouldn't have beaten the secret boss on hard mode. It was ridiculous.
You're talking about when you get the Buster Sword, Buster Sword proficiency. So, like, that's a mechanic that I also thought was stupid. I didn't know I had to get kills with the battle stance to like up its proficiency, and I don't even really know. I know at 23% I get something.
Yeah, it's like different sort of abilities that come with it once you get to that certain amount.
But I'm just like, you know where it was when I was at fucking Genesis Avatar? Like 2. Because I'm like it's a late game mechanic it's being introduced. Like I don't understand it. Like it should have just been like kills with the Buster Sword. And like battle stance is cool. Like it's fine. Like I like Punisher stance from Remake much better, but I was just like, I don't know, there's like these extra mechanics, and even like with there's so many mini games and shit that I'm just like, here's a tutorial on the mini game, and I'm just like,
and you can easily miss that too, so.
Kill me. Like I'm like, I don't need this fucking tutorial. And then like, yeah, these goofy mini games, like it's such an error. Like it, but you know what's funny, like comparing Birth by Sleep to I guess itself, or a PSP title made by Square. Birth by Sleep translates so much better onto console. I was like, you know, when I was playing it on the 1.5, or maybe it was 2.5, the HD collection for Kingdom Hearts, I was like, this game's great. It doesn't feel like a PSP game at all, but this game is really held back by its PSP roots.
I do think that personally, this game, I know it was only like 2007 or so, but it's definitely like, it was an experiment. It was them trying to see what they could do with the console, and then they immediately bring it in just to go for the nostalgia factor without thinking, I mean, we should add more, we should completely remake it. Not to say that it doesn't have its fair amount of remake mechanics, but it's just a matter of how are you going to put this in while trying to balance out? We want it to be similar. We want it to be new. That sort of thing. And it's going to be, everyone's going to be a different audience about it. Some people that play the original say, oh, I'm cool with that. Some that didn't say, like, what are these mechanics? They're so outdated. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I really, and that's why I really struggle, like, with what I said at the beginning. Like, I don't know if I like this game or not. I really don't. Because, like, I guess, like, my background and my love of Final Fantasy, you know, obviously I got my 35th anniversary Final Fantasy VII shirt on right now. My love of Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy VII I should like this game. But like when it comes down to the gameplay and the mechanics, I'm like, this game fucking did not age well. Its graphics look great. I was really disappointed Square was lazy and didn't the
cutscenes.
The cutscenes. What the fuck is this? This is like 480p cutscenes from the PSP, like up-res to like 4K. You guys couldn't fucking just redo them or like redo them in the engine? I wouldn't mind.
It literally looked like they just cut out pieces from Advent Children and spliced it in there.
Right. Yeah. It really does. And it's jarring. It's really fucking jarring. Especially when like Sephiroth looks like his original and he doesn't look like the remake Sephiroth. And I'm just like, like this is so annoying.
Yeah, I feel definitely like that's laziness, but also like going back to thinking like what's going to happen, is it's going to be exactly the same. I think they were trying to trick us, that sort of thing, see whether or not it was going to be remake continuality or it's going to be the original.
Yeah, and that was like, we get to Nibelheim, right? The big moment of the game. We get the classic, you know, Sephiroth looks at you and turns away and walks towards the reactor. You know, it's like the most defining moment of the game, which honestly, by the way, I think the whole ending is really oddly paced. Like that big part happens, and then there's just like the stupid sniper mini game, and then you're fucking going, oh, let's go to fucking Benor Village, and I'm like, there's so much between this and the end of the game. I thought Nibelheim was like, we were like, you know, 2 hours from the end. No, you're like 4.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, like you go to Gongaga and it's just like, here's another waterfall mini game. Let's get the treasure. It's like, what the fuck is the point of this? And why is there a trophy attachment? Ugh. But yeah, so you know, when Cloud goes after Sephiroth, like he does in the original, and like he stabs him, and there's the spirit mist around where he gets hit. And I'm and I'm like, is that it? I'm like, is that our remake tie-in? Like that spirits were protecting him or something?
Is that a tie-in? They just not want to make it too graphic?
And then somebody goes, no, I think that was just to hide the awkwardness of this giant blade going through Sephiroth's stomach. And I'm like, because like in the original, there's nothing there. It's just like this blade, this blade that's like fucking wider than his body, like in his chest. I mean, just fucking like takes it out.
I mean, I could imagine them trying to do an M-rated Final Fantasy, but you never know.
It's called 16.
Really?
16's M.
Oh shit.
Yeah, 16's gonna be dark. I'm very excited for 16. But yeah, and I was just like, I wanted to believe in my headcanon that I'm like, this is the remake tie-in. This is what they're doing. Because like the spirits protected Sephiroth and Cloud from dying in that moment. Like this is why. And then it's like, no, it's a much stupider explanation that they're just hiding the awkwardness of these giant blades going through these people's bodies, and they just hid the entry wound. I was just like,
I mean, that's them tricking us, like making us think that, oh, it's part remake. No, it's the original.
And I hate the new Genova look.
Yeah,
I want the alien boob eyeball back.
I mean, like,
I hope we do see it eventually. Maybe she'll like shed whatever form she's in, and she'll be more.
I can't even tell her fucking head. It looks like some sort of disheveled cocoon or something.
Yeah, so they like hit it in this one instead of it being like just Genova's like human female.
No eye, no hair, no brain.
Right. It's just like it's in like a fucking like box. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, are we doing this for like the censors here? Like, dude, the head was cool. Like, bring that back. So I wasn't too butthurt about that with Remake. I was like, okay, like Genova's like in the States. This maybe like we will see her, like eyeball boob alien form like later, because we fight Genova like 30 more times, and like soon. I think the next time you fight her is in Junon, right? When they're on the ship.
On the boat, yeah.
Yeah. So I would assume we're gonna get to Junon in not reunion. Rebirth.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, there's too many R names.
I mean, I originally assumed that, considering how much was put into the first one, thinking that they're going to do this more than just a trilogy, but I guess not. Like, if they did it, like, say, if they tried to even do, like...
Are you talking about if Crisis Core was a trilogy?
No, remake.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I remember thinking, like, are they going to do more than just a trilogy for this? Like, that would be sick, but if they're going to continue going on this, good for them, but no, it's just going to be a trilogy, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's really a question of like, okay, like I think the open world is not gonna be like a 1-to-1. It's like I don't think we're gonna be able to walk around the open world like we were like you like semi did in the original. You just had random battles in this on the typical Final Fantasy shit, but I think they're gonna change it a little bit, and I'm fine with that because the game does open up after Midgar, as we all know, but it does seem like we're gonna start Rebirth. Not outside of Calm, but in Calm and Cloud. Like, I'm like, the tutorial better be Cloud recapping.
Yeah, you said. I remember you saying that. Like, that's probably going to end up being it.
It's perfect. That the tutorial for this game would be like, Cloud is just recapping Nibelheim in his perception of Nibelheim, which is not true.
That brings up the question whether Genesis will appear for that or not.
Yeah, that is a good question. Yeah, that's a huge question. I mean, how they're gonna paint it, because they do revisit Nibelheim a lot in the original. Like they do, like it's like, okay, he first tells it, and then we do the Zack version of it, and then we do it in the dream thing.
Confront everyone that they're not the original people, that sort of thing.
Yeah, like they have a cool opportunity to do something cool, but like the question is like how they're gonna handle Zack. Because I feel like they have to give Zack a bigger role in Rebirth and what comes after.
That's just the big question as a whole, especially with Aerith thinking, like, we think that Aerith has some sort of knowledge of the original timeline. That's what everyone's saying. So
yeah, and my kind of thing with it too is, like playing Crisis Core. Shouldn't Sung know who Cloud is?
I was thinking that too. Like,
he should know who this guy is.
He should know He should know that sword.
Right. Like, he should be like, what? That's Zack's sword. Also, he was boys with Zack. He was like, wanted to Zack. We'll get him out of here. Well, like we can't we can't have you here, but like we won't kill you. And like Cisne is also another one. It's like, are we gonna see Cisne? Because
We're talking the Turks, by the way.
Yeah, and like, you know, is she gonna be like an actual like Turk member? Because I mean, the only other female that we interact with is Elena, and she's not until later, so she'll definitely come.
I mean, like back to the whole thing when it comes to remake. Like we were talking about whether or not they're gonna remake Dridge or not. Is that the right way to say it? Dirge.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid they're gonna try and
give me the Dirge remake.
I am afraid that they're going to try and do something with Before Crisis for that as well with Cisne. Like,
what do you mean?
Like try and do a remake or something like that, like some sort of new Before Crisis game. Cisne was the character.
They're gonna remake Before Crisis. I don't know about that. They would really have to remake that game. They can't just port it over. It's like a fucking phone game, and it's like, you know, gross.
But anyway, back to Crisis Core. Since you mentioned the maps, it's one thing. Also, another thing that really turned me off is the fact that
the repeat maps
for all the missions.
Oh my god, it's the caves or it's the desert,
the cave,
or
the
it's
farm,
the Shinra building. Like it's like holy shit.
Literally, they just put some fences around. Say, oh, you can't go this way. Take this path instead.
It's just like maybe that was cool back in the day or fine. Passable.
I mean, I think...
But today, no.
I mean, I think of the original, and back when we didn't know well, obviously, I don't think anyone knew we were going to get a remake of 7. Like,
you know, remember whenever the end of this game, you know, it's the bombing mission. You know, we're getting Zack or Cloud telling us Soldier.
No. I mean, but when we first saw this, like, in development.
Oh, right. We did not think. Yeah,
like,
true.
To us,
but everyone was like, "Fuck, 7's gonna be remade."
I mean, to us, this was pretty much, oh my god, this is what 7's supposed to look like in HD, that sort of thing. Like, this is what a 7 remake's probably gonna look like. But now it's definitely times have changed.
Yeah, the maps.
Maps are terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like the maps in the base, like in the normal game, like the areas. Like it just, again, it's aged. It's aged. Maybe it has some charm, like maybe to you as somebody who's played the original, but I don't know. I thought Birth by Sleep has some charm, but like it's not aged charm. Whereas this is just like, dude, I can't stand this.
I think it's just also the generation gap compared to the blocky polygons of the original. Meanwhile, we have these sort of graphics. Like, I'm pretty sure that Advent Children and Dirge were the first to go along with that. So now we have this, and we're seeing all these different locations that are presumably from the original game. That's probably what got people excited back then.
And like with the DMW, I almost did it. I almost called it the DMV. With the DMW, like we get these cutscenes that are like exclusive to that, and I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we saw this like in the game? I don't know, like because there's there's some like interesting stuff like Zack is talking to Sephiroth when he's reading
Genova Project notes.
What's that? What's that doctor's name?
Gast.
It's Gast stuff, right? Yeah,
when
he's reading Gast journals and stuff, and he's learning, and he's telling him about it, and I'm like, wouldn't this have been cool to add it to the Nibelheim part because it's fucking important?
I mean,
not the RNG chance I see this cutscene. Like, I understand some of them, like with Aerith, are kind of like not important, or with Sung, but
there is one though. Like they showed the whole cutscene in one of those flashbacks when they're talking about how Mako gets condensed and stuff around the pool. They show that in the original game, but they showed it in that.
Yeah. Not the original Crisis Core,
the original 7. Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, and I'm just like, why didn't we do that? Seems like kind of important.
I feel like they were trying to do some neat tie-in, but why not just make it a full cutscene? So
yeah,
it's like exclusive sort of stuff going on behind the scenes. Zack interacting with people, like personal sort of stuff, but it probably didn't have to really go that far in. They could have easily done like flashbacks of stuff, though. Saying that, they'd probably get annoyed by saying the same cutscenes we've seen in the original over and over again. So
yeah, and the dialogue it feels like it was written in 2008, which was, it doesn't feel like it's like look at Remake's dialogue and like the conversations the characters having. It's fucking great because it was written like a year ago. It's like, whereas this dialogue, it's like it feels like stilted Square Enix dialogue, like it just like the way like it feels like this aged Square game, like it really does. And I'm like, they could have maybe like just rewritten some of these lines. It could have sound better. We haven't talked about Aerith much. I don't really have much to say about her other than like maybe the same thing with Sung. It's like, why doesn't she like really tell Cloud about Zack?
I mean,
she like really holds it back, and like
I mean, you can say the same about Tifa, but she has her reasons. So her reasons pretty much thinking, is this actually
right?
Cloud?
But she doesn't know Cloud was at Nibelheim, so it makes sense why she doesn't bring it up, because like why would she? And it doesn't even seem like Cloud knows at that point that like Nibelheim. Well, no, he was.
No, he knows the destruction of Nibelheim. He saw.
So this is what's going to be interesting in the remake. Tifa's at Nibelheim. What like? I'm trying. I don't think she can test it.
She didn't say anything. Like she immediately knew that this.
Like she was there.
I mean, like as
Cloud wasn't there.
As he was telling the original, she must have known. Like, wait, this is what Zack. This was Zack was happening right there. I don't understand, but you don't know. Like trauma, all that sort of shit. You don't know what's going through their heads.
I don't think it's like a great excuse for characters just deciding not to talk about it. So it'll be interesting to see in Remake how they address that. Because now that Crisis Core is out, the fan base knows.
I mean, especially...
And they knew before, but, like, they just put the game out. It's like, oh, Tifa was at Nibelheim.
I mean, especially now, because even in Remake, when, like, say, Aerith tries to say Zack's name, he pretty much cuts it out in his head. Like, if they even try and mention Zack, who knows what'll happen, like...
Right, and it's like, okay, like, well, is Zack live in another timeline? Like, what's going on with that, too?
Whenever they get to Gungaga, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, that's pretty late in the game, right?
Like... half of the
when
first half.
When you're looking for the huge materia?
No. Like, Gungaga, you run into it the first time. Like, you immediately get off the train, make your way to Cosmo. Boat.
You can hit it there?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I didn't go there. I mean, 7 Original is a goofy game once you get out of Midgar. It's pretty... You don't need to follow any sort of path, so I guess that makes sense.
Another thing also too was I wasn't expecting like everyone to have voice acting in this remake, like Yuffie. I wasn't expecting that. Like,
and I think that's pretty good. Like we had no unvoiced dialogue, which okay, I'll give them that. They did it. They did it there. And yeah, because that would have been jarring, especially with some of these like some of the missions and stuff. And it was interesting to see like missions kind of get more attention than others. It's like some are just like here's some text, go fucking fight, or like. The Yuffie stuff, there's a little bit more there. Or the one with like the soldier dude, or not the soldier dude, the security guard dude trying to compete with soldier, and like there's a little bit more there, but most of them don't have that. And I'm not even gonna say it's good exposition or dialogue or whatever. Yeah. I think that's it. I mean, we were talking about the cutscenes. The summoning cutscenes still really hold up. I don't know why.
Those are so much better now.
Those looked still good. Why did the other ones not look as good, right?
Yeah, like the render.
I didn't understand it. I was like, why do these look so shit? And why does, like, Bahamut look fucking incredible and Ifrit? Like, they look great.
I mean, like, even with their in-game models, they even look better, honestly, just trying to match with that.
It's so goofy.
I mean, another thing also, too, you remember you were talking about the music. That was not the best either. Like, it's really a lot of recycled tracks on the same exact thing.
Oh, right, yeah, a lot of recycled music. They rearranged some of the music? I know it's not, like, the original.
I'm pretty sure the opening number as you're about to boot up the game is different. Like, it feels like a lot more down tone, not as more upbeat. But I'm not sure about all of it. Like, the version of One Winged Angel that was on there, I'm pretty sure that's pretty similar. But then again, they could always just be repeating literally the same dialogue new sound effects from that exact copy from the original game.
Yeah, like, I like the music, but I don't think, like, any of the Crisis Core unique tracks, like, stand out to me.
I mean, personally...
They're repetitive.
I mean, my personal favorite is probably what some people may consider to be Zack's theme, like The Price of Freedom. Like, you hear that a couple times in the game. You hear that at Zack's...
Price of Freedom is steep.
You hear that at Zack's End. You hear it all, like, all this different sort of stuff. I feel like that's, like, one of the big soundtracks, honestly, when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so... Trying to think. Anything else that we want to bring up before we kind of close it out?
Trying to think.
I think we kind of hit a lot.
We hit a lot. We kind of talked more about Remake, but we definitely have a lot to talk about when it came to Crisis Core.
I mean, and it's important to talk about Remake because this is the context in which the game is coming out in.
I mean, personally, from my perspective, it's definitely better than the original when it comes to mechanics-wise. There's a lot more that was done with it, like not continuously stopping whenever you hit a match. You're able to see how much stats you get, like you're not immediately stopped whenever you get a materia to level up, which is stupid, by the way. Just having to get 2 matches in order to get in the right slot, like 2 6s, the one in the 6th slot, then gets leveled up, 5 slot, the one that, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It's also hard to tell whether or not the whole level up, like general, was actually helping at all. I can't really.
No,
tell.
it didn't. It, like again, like the RNG system of the DMW just seemed.
I mean, it's literally
like it really didn't matter what level I was, and like you were saying, it's like it doesn't seem like getting 10 levels up is going to actually help you do anything.
And it was completely like chance too. Literally, if you get 777s on the DMW, then you level up. That's just it was just random.
I love that this game is accessible. It's playable everywhere now. It's not locked to PSP anymore, which is great. But I think this is a miss. I think Square missed an opportunity to do a little bit more with this game and give it the remake treatment. I don't know. It's great that we got this. It's cool that I got to play this game finally. Again, it's cool that I can play it pretty much anywhere besides PC. But I needed them to go a little farther. And Square like loves shortchanging shit. Square's been making a lot of. They've been having fucking great moments, and they've been having some weird fucking moments. Remake is a great moment. The NFT thing is not. Like the Pixel remaster thing. Like why wasn't it just on console on the get go?
Which one are you playing first, by the way?
I'm gonna play 1 through. I'm gonna go.
Oh, you're gonna go through order. Okay.
Yeah. Well, why were you not gonna do that?
I was thinking maybe 6, considering how much people love it, but I might do the same thing.
Yeah. And 16 is next, and it looks like 16 is gonna be great. We have no reason to doubt that game. All the trailers look fucking incredible, and I feel like they've learned a lot from 7 Remake and 15, and even Kingdom Hearts 3. I feel like Square is coming off of like a lot. The highs are high, but like the mids of Square are low.
I mean, this is literally the culmination of everything that they've already done. Like everything that was on that plate, everything from KH3 to 15, all that stuff that we waited years for. This is the culmination, all of it they've learned from those, and now it's being put into a whole new slate.
Yeah, we're finally getting a new game that wasn't announced like 17 years ago. And that's great because like Kingdom Hearts 3 and 15 were on our docket for like
13, 14 years.
Right. Like we knew they were coming, and like especially with 15, you know, when it was versus 13 and, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's great that Square Enix is like AAA, like games are doing great, but I need their middle titles to also be fucking stellar as well. I need the Pixel remasters to not just release on PC and then come to console 6 months later and not have physical editions and only have physical editions that were sold out immediately on the Square Enix store. It's like, what are we doing? They're just like fucking Pixel games. Like, just fucking sell the disc normally. Like, why? Why are we doing NFT shit? What's the fucking point? Give me fucking... Why is Octopath Traveler not on PlayStation? Who fucking knows? Because I certainly goddamn don't. Why isn't 2 on Xbox? What, like, I'm cool with the like triangle strategy being exclusive for a little bit, then coming to consoles. Fine. I'll wait. I'll fucking be here. But like, I just don't understand it.
It's hard to say.
They got it's like they
have a ton they like to try and do just on the simple one, like Live Alive. I mean, to get into that eventually.
Why is it a Switch exclusive? It was a PlayStation game. It doesn't make sense. I want to play Live Alive. It looks awesome. I love Octopath's like renaissance with the 2D 3D hybrid thing. It's awesome. But anyway, I think that's it. I think
we're good. Yeah,
I think I've said enough. Thank you guys for watching.
That was just therapy.
Thank you guys for watching live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. You can find us everywhere podcasts are found if you search Delco Nerd Network. Make sure to give us, make sure to follow on all the podcast services. Make sure to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars over on Spotify. You can also find this on youtube.com/Delco Nerd Network. Don't forget to engage with the podcast. Leave a comment, a like, and make sure if you're not subscribed already over there to do that. Follow us on our social media. Facebook.com/Delco Nerd Network, at Delco Nerds on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Also, try and join us on any sort of our sites we have. We have Discord. We are talking about a ton of different stuff. Always looking to hear different opinions.
All this information can be found over on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. Guys, for Chris, I've been Gooch. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.